Howdy folks, Jamboree here, and welcome to another episode of Film Chums. Joining me this time is my good friend, Sora Star.
Hi!
So yeah, Viva is busy this month. She's being very focused on her personal career, so this is going to be one of those rare episodes where Viva will not be joining me. But yeah, Sora is a huge fan of the Barbie movies and Barbie in general, so I felt like she was the perfect temporary co-host for this episode.
Oh, thank you.
So, Sora, you grew up with these movies as a kid.
Oh, yes.
Do you remember why they appealed to you as a little girl?
Oh, definitely. I think it's mostly because of how, magical they were.
Certain sense of whimsy.
Yeah, especially when I think of, Barbie and the Nutcracker and Swan Lake and Rapunzel. Those ones especially were just, there's something really special and ethereal about them.
Oh, absolutely. One thing I really noticed about Nutcracker when I rewatched it is that it has this certain glow to it. Like all the shots have a little bit of a glow to them that I really like and makes it nostalgic, even though I didn't grow up with it personally.
Oh, that's cool.
So what are some of your favourite memories from these movies?
Well, I used to watch them all the time with my sister, so it really reminds me of her and just how, the really good times we had together with the Barbie movies. I remember this one time in particular, we were watching The Princess and the Pauper while at the same time we were acting out the movie with our dolls.
Aww, that's so cute.
And the thing was, we didn't even have the actual Barbie dolls. We just had other dolls like Bratz, but we just pretended that they were Annalise and Erica.
So for me, I did not grow up with the Barbie movies, and I did not play with the Barbie dolls, but that's not because my parents were against me playing with dolls, because I actually inherited my mum's dolls growing up, so I played with them quite a lot, and my parents were very against gender stereotypes and that kind of thing. They were very, very open-minded.
Wow.
I don't know why Barbie never came into my life as a kid, because I also liked a lot of cartoons and anime that were targeted towards girls more than boys, like Sailor Moon, Cardcaptor Sakura, stuff like that. So again, I don't know how they didn't end up in my childhood, but I can imagine myself enjoying them a lot as a kid, particularly the Golden Age films.
Definitely.
But speaking of the Golden Age films, which are considered to be the Nutcracker, Rapunzel, Swan Lake, and Princess and the Pauper, what do you think makes these films special?
I think just you can just tell that there was an extra level of we need to make this good. Like, this is a movie first and a doll second. I think that's the difference between the first handful of movies than compared to what we get now. Because after The Princess and the Pauper, Mattel suddenly were releasing more Barbie movies that had 2 leads because you could make double the amount of dolls. And it shows that's what it feels like they're doing.
Yeah, it's very much become quantity over quality at this point.
Yeah.
I personally think that the Golden Age Barbie movies stand out because they had a timeless appeal.
Yes.
They weren't chasing trends or trying to look cool. They were focused on telling stories, and these stories were made with love and passion. Even though they were clearly only greenlit to sell Barbie doll lines, they could still stand on their own merits, and you'd end up forgetting that they were technically toy commercials.
Yeah, definitely. I see where you're coming from, and I agree with you.
They also didn't underestimate their young audience. They knew what little girls loved, but also believed that they were smart enough to follow detailed storytelling beats and patient enough to wait for things to get exciting. So yeah, they were very mature. They were quite mature, those films.
That's so true. And there were parts where the movies just took a break. For example, in the Nutcracker, towards the end of the movie, there's just a big dance sequence, and it can be slow, and it could be fast. And then the same thing happened in Swan Lake. There's just a dance segment in the middle.
And that takes a lot of guts.
It does, and absolutely nothing is happening.
It's all about trying to enchant kids with the beauty of the ballet, and to think that they thought, kids are gonna love this, that's wild. Yes. That's really brave.
Yeah.
That really shows a lot of respect for their audience.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, many fans feel as if Mattel haven't made any films that are as good as the Golden Age movies. What do you think has changed over the years?
Well, it just seems like that they are just following trends now and just trying to like grab onto whatever's popular instead of just making a good movie.
But as time has gone on, it's become more and more obvious that Mattel only makes these movies to promote the Barbie brand. And
Yeah.
a lot of the newer Barbie movies lean more into female stereotypes. They celebrate wealth and consumerism, and really show the years that they were made.
Yeah.
And like many of the newer films also have just become Barbie toy propaganda. Just feature length adverts to oversell how amazing the Barbie doll is. Like, and that comes through in the story as well. It's not subtle. Like, characters around Barbie are always gushing over how perfect and multi-talented she is.
Yeah.
When she does admit that she has a flaw, it's usually just an excuse to show how humble she is, not to make her a more interesting or relatable character.
Yeah, or it's not even like a flaw. Like when I was watching the Barbie Diaries, she was just kind of like like her flaw was that she was too smart. She was too smart, and then she got like a really high score on the test, and she was like, "Oh no."
To be fair, though, that one thing I did like about Barbie Diaries is that it's the only film where they let Barbie be a bad person.
Oh yeah, she was awful in that movie.
Yeah, it doesn't really work.
No.
Because it makes her a very unlikable character to the point where you kind of forget why you're rooting for her anymore.
Yeah.
But kudos to that film for going, okay, let's take a risk. Let's have Barbie go down the Mean Girl route.
Yep.
And like we might end up ruining the Barbie brand model.
Yeah.
But let's give it a go. Like, okay, film.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not good, but you've got that going for you. Here's the challenge, though. Is there anything positive you can say about the Barbie movies that came after the Golden Age?
I mean, they all have a like you can look at a Barbie movie and it's got this style to it that you know it's a Barbie movie. It's it's recognizable as a brand, and I think that's a good thing because like they all look consistent, but like I mean the actual like it's hard to tell them apart though.
No, yeah, I totally get. They blend into each other.
They really do. Like I was trying to explain this to my friend, and I was watching Barbie, the Fashion Fairy Tale, and then there was that other one with the movie, and then they were like, was that this one with the movies? And I was like, no, it's the other one where she's an actress, and they were like, was it this one? And I was like, I don't know, they're all the same.
It feels like it. Sometimes when I was thinking what I want to say about a certain film, I'm like, did that happen in that film, or was it another film?
Yeah.
So hard to keep track.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you mean though. Like, it's great that they have this very distinct identity.
Yes, that was the word I was looking for.
It also hinders them as well.
Yes.
I never watched one of these Barbie movies thinking that this is full on bad.
Yeah.
There are Barbie movies that are bad for Barbie movie standards.
Yeah,
but for the most part, they're just average.
Yeah.
They're just there.
Yeah, it's just something that
like,
you can put on for your kids and they'll watch it.
And they're very digestible.
Yeah.
As well, because a lot of them, particularly even this is something I'll also say about the new ones, is like the new ones are a lot shorter.
Yeah.
A lot shorter, and they go by a lot faster as well. So they're much more merciful compared to some of the others.
That's true. Like, they never feel like they're kind of, like, meandering. Like, things are always happening, but...
Oh, yeah. They are very busy films, I'll give you that. They're very active.
Yeah.
For me, I think... So these are the things that I think are great about the post-Golden Age Barbie movies.
Okay.
They have better representation. As much as I love the Golden Age Barbie movies, it's quite rare to see any prominent non-white characters in those films. I mean, there's more ethnic diversity in today's Barbie films, which is something worth praising. And it's just great to see Mattel acknowledging that girls of all races like Barbie dolls. Like,
yes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I really do. Yes, a lot of these new ethnic characters are usually Barbie's token best friends, but it's also much more common nowadays to see a black girl in a Barbie movie who has a meaty role with her own agency.
Definitely, and that's really evident with their new film coming out next week.
I'm Barbie, Barbie Roberts. We have the same name? Two Barbies share the spotlight.
Yeah. Like, they are very much celebrating this. Yeah, they are celebrating the fact that we acknowledge that we have black little girls enjoying our dolls, and we're just gonna make a film about that. That's awesome.
Exactly.
That is really awesome. I also like that in the newer Barbie movies, Barbie has a wider range of roles.
Oh,
because the franchise's slogan became "You could be anything."
Yeah.
The older films just limited it to being mainly princesses,
Mm-hmm.
but modern Barbie movies have stretched things out by casting her as things like a spy, a superhero,
Yeah.
a video game designer, a space hero, a YouTube vlogger, and
Yeah.
loads of other things.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
not only teaches little girls that they can grow up to be anything they want, but also presents women in roles that they're not usually cast in for animated movies.
That's true. Yep.
And it's like, say what you will about the Barbie films, but they really know their audience,
Yeah.
and it's an audience that most Hollywood studios are frequently reluctant to target.
Yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right. And like I think they brought out a new Barbie line where she is all this stuff. Like she's an astronaut and she's a video game dev, and she's sitting there on her wee computer. It's so cute.
If you look at the history of Barbie and the stumbles Mattel came across with the product over the years, it's amazing it got to this point. It really is.
Yeah.
The thing is too, as much as it bothers me that these newer films tend to age poorly because they're chasing trends, I have to commend Mattel for keeping up with the changing times.
That's
Most
also
companies
true.
would stubbornly stay in the past or be overprotective of their legacy, but the Barbie movies acknowledge that little girls' interests are constantly changing and that technology has become a bigger part of today's culture. So at least they know. From a marketing standpoint, they know, and that's something at least commendable.
That's true. And like I haven't watched that many of the newer movies, but the ones I did watch, like the new things in technology isn't like too heavy-handed or handled really badly. Whereas like their rival company MGA, like they've released a new Bratz line, and like they're making YouTube shorts on their YouTube channel, and they're all talking about like Ariana Grande and what she's doing, and it's like that's gonna age so poorly in like 3 years.
This is definitely one of the best things about the new Barbie films, is the introduction of Barbie's sisters. I think that was a really good idea.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
now Barbie's target audience can have characters their age to relate to in these films. And I like that each of the sisters are a different age.
That's so true.
So like, so like any like target demographic that ends up watching these films, they have a sister to resonate with.
Yeah.
I really liked that, and a lot of. I even noticed, like, the sisters really do behave like girls that age as well. I've got friends' daughters that act like that, and it's like, yeah, they did pretty good. So, yeah. The introduction of the sisters also inspires a lot of the films to focus on relatable sibling situations, and they teach little girls to be good sisters. Oh, and the newest Barbie movie that came out this year, Chelsea's Lost Birthday, is surprisingly experimental because it explores sisterhood in a fantastical, abstract way. In this movie, Chelsea's teddies come to life. One teddy represents herself, and the others are meant to be her sisters, and she gets to explore her relationships with all of her siblings. I'd say that it's one of the best Barbie movies about sisterhood.
As a kid, like the first Barbie movie I ever had and watched was that one from the 80s. And like I just remember seeing Barbie, and like she was getting ready for a concert, and she was putting all her dress on, her earrings, her makeup, and I was like, I wish that was me. But obviously I was like 4 and Barbie was like 18 or something like that. So like and then when the Barbie movies came out, the only person my age was Kelly, but she's such a mopey little baby and nobody liked her.
What do you think that Barbie movies today are missing? And in your opinion, how can they recapture the magic of the old movies?
I feel like they're just missing some heart. Like they just seem really shallow and like cash grabby. It doesn't seem like anyone spent that long on the concept of the script or the idea of the songs.
Personally, I don't have much faith in Mattel going back to their roots.
No.
Because the Barbie of the 2020s is different to the Barbie of the 2000s. However, if they want to create a new renaissance of Barbie movies, I think that they need to prioritize timeless appeal and respecting the young audience's intelligence. Because films like Rapunzel and Swan Lake weren't just feature-length toy commercials.
No.
They tried to be good movies first, and that's why they became cult classics. They've tried to recapture Princess and the Pauper twice now.
I'd say more
and
than
they've not managed to ever do the same
No.
magic.
No.
So yeah, and it's because when they remake their old films, they don't understand why they're so great.
I know. I think they just thought like the story's great and there's two main characters, so we can still double the toys and.
Ugh.
But they didn't really capture the spirit of Princess and the Pauper.
No.
Not that they should, because why do that? Why not just make a new movie?
They don't want to take risks. That's the thing. Mattel is not going to want to take risks.
I know.
So, the Barbie movies are renowned for having straight-to-video budgets, which means that they're all cheaply animated, let's say. What do you think of the animation for these movies?
Well, I mean, I've never thought that the movies looked good, like ever. Even as a kid watching these movies that I loved, I knew that they didn't look very good. But like I saw through that because I was invested into the stories and the characters and the songs and the settings. Even though they always kind of look dead muddy, they don't really look very good. Like the newer movies look a bit better, like they're more brighter and a bit more polished, but they still kind of have that weird uncanny like movements and faces. And you can tell that they've reused models from earlier movies.
Always.
Yeah. And, like, sometimes they can get away with it, but other times you're like, why is the baker from that other movie in this movie?
Well, for me, even though the Golden Age movies have PlayStation 2 graphics, and they look nowhere near as good as the CGI movies that were out at the time, you could at least tell that they were trying.
Yeah, they
because
were.
They believed in their scripts.
Yeah.
And you could tell that they really wanted to tell these stories. So there was at least some personality, some heart, some soul coming through the character animation. They fought their limitations.
Yeah.
And that's admirable. That's really admirable. And I will stand by that the best animation in the entire franchise is Preminger.
Oh,
and to think that the best Yes, so to think that the peak of like interesting animation for Barbie is like their fourth film, that's
yeah, like Preminger, he looks fantastic. Like just his facial features, and he's all like smirky and scheming, and his body is so flamboyant and woohoo.
So stretchy. Like they never played around with animation like they did with Preminger.
I know.
And the thing is, the old movies, they look crude.
Yeah.
They look clunky, and maybe you'll get a goofy face or two. But I think that these imperfections added charm to the old films.
I think so.
They really did.
Yeah.
The newer Barbie movies are certainly better rendered and prettier to look at. But I just feel like something's missing.
Yeah.
Like the character animation is very safe and uninspired.
Yeah.
The only film that took me by surprise was Video Game Hero, because each level of the game has a unique art style. But most post Golden Age Barbie films aren't very interesting to look at.
Right, yeah.
The only thing that's ever bothered me about Barbie movie animation is how they do a lot of the animal characters.
Oh,
because they can never decide how humanistic and how animalistic the character is.
Yeah.
And like sometimes they'll have a character act really animalistic and not have any dialogue, and then suddenly it'll stand up and do something really human, and it creeps me out. And like Shiver from Magic of Pegasus was like a really good example of like that not working as well. Just the idea of it like, because like the film couldn't decide, okay, is this like a human baby or is this like a real baby polar bear? It never made its mind up, and it was just like this creepy little hybrid of both.
I don't know, I really didn't like Shiver. Like, even as a child, I remember strongly disliking that polar bear.
Because that polar bear does nothing to help.
I just see characters where their only job in the movie is to hinder everybody else. Just
That the Magic of Pegasus could be over under 5 minutes if Barbie didn't bring Shivers with her. I stand by that. Shivers caused so many problems.
I know, it's just so stressful. See that part when they were in the cave and they had to like take a jewel and then Shivers like dancing in all of the jewels and like throwing them about. I was like,
But the thing is, I've done Barbie movie drinking games with Viva, and one of the films we did was Magic of Pegasus, and I remember a drunk Viva slurring at me, "You're that baby polar bear," and now I've rewatched the film sober. I'm like, wow, that is an insult.
Yeah, that was.
But yeah, overall the animation is serviceable, but flawed. It's just stop animating the animals in creepy ways. Stop it.
Yeah, and then like some of the, like the animals, they're just I just don't like how a lot of them look. Like in the Island Princess, there's this monkey that looks like a little girl.
Oh, that one! Oh, I remember that one now. Oh, she was so creepy.
Like.
Oh.
There's parts of her where I was like, oh, you know what, our character design is kind of cute, but then she'll like turn away and then I'll be like, nope, it's awful. And then Tika, the elephant, has like eyelashes and makeup on, and I'm like, why?
I think most animals in the Barbie movies have eyelashes to that extent. I've noticed that a lot.
Yeah.
They really like to put heavy eyelash makeup on their animals.
Stop
being weird with your animals, Mattel. Stop it. So, big question now, and this is a question now everyone wants us to get to, but which do you think is the best Barbie movie, and why is it The Princess and the Pauper?
It just is. Like...
There's no arguing over that.
No, there literally isn't. Like, obviously some fans have other movies that they'll die on that hill, that's their favourite, that one's the best, but... they're wrong.
The Princess and the Pauper is about two women of different classes, a princess called Annalise and a dressmaker in debt called Erica, both of which share a remarkable resemblance to each other. Annalise's kingdom is in danger of bankruptcy, so the queen betroths Annalise to King Dominic to save their people. However, the evil royal advisor Preminger wants to be king. In order to do this, he kidnaps Annalise and says he'll give his wealth of gold to the queen if she'll marry him. After the princess disappears, Annalise's tutor Julian becomes suspicious. He urges Erica to disguise herself as Annalise so that their marriage to King Dominic can still happen, all while Julian secretly investigates what happened to the princess. Annalise manages to escape Preminger's henchmen, but unfortunately, Julian is caught snooping around. Back at the palace, Erica's disguise is a success, but she begins to really fall in love with Dominic, and Dominic ends up sharing the same feelings. At the same time, Preminger may be catching on to the switch. The characters are so intelligent, so smart, and but at the same time, they have unique traits or talents.
Yeah.
Julian is sensible, practical, and intuitive. Annalise is sympathetic to the poor and strong-willed. Erica is a beautiful singer who accepts others for who they are. Dominic is humble for a king and doesn't judge people by their status. They're all just great, likeable characters. There are so many scenes in this film where a character will come across an obstacle and they don't just sit around.
No.
They will think, okay, how do I get out of this?
Yeah.
And then the fun part is just seeing what tactics they'll rely on to, like, escape a prison cell or get out of a pit or something like that. Like, they don't faff about.
No.
And that's what keeps the story moving forward.
Yeah.
Because they're always there's no one passive in this film. Everyone is, you've either got someone playing detective or someone trying to save the day. It's everyone is such a great character in this film.
I know.
When I first saw this film sober, I was like, wow, how is every single character in this film so friggin' smart?
Oh. I really like Julian. I think he's amazing and like he does his job pretty good, and then like it was his idea for Erica to be Annalise because she's missing and he wants to go and find her, but he doesn't want to upset the queen or throw the kingdom in chaos, which it would. Your princess is missing.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And Julian's like, how can I look for Annalise and keep this on the down low so that the whole kingdom doesn't panic and freak out?
I also like that when Julian finds out that the princess has to marry a king to save the kingdom, even though deep down he is madly in love with her, he helps.
Yeah.
He doesn't judge her either. And he doesn't show, like, the green-eyed monster. He's like, right, this is what's got to be done. It hurts,
Yeah.
but, like, this is the sensible thing to do for the kingdom.
Exactly, because there's so many movies that have that trope that I absolutely hate it, where, like, the girl's in love with, like, this new popular guy, but he's actually not that great, but it's her best friend who was, like, by her the whole time, even though the whole time he watched her fancy this other guy, he was seething with rage. And you're supposed to root for him. You're supposed to be like, oh, she's supposed to be with her best friend in the end, even though he's a horrible, hateful, jealous, like, sociopath.
I also like that at the end of the film, Erica's debt has been paid off, so she decides to travel the world. Dominic doesn't get angry or upset at her for leaving, but says he'll happily marry her if she ever decides to come back. Like,
yeah.
So romantic!
I know. I think that King Dominic is just such he's just such a good guy, and, like, even though he found out that the girl that he'd been spending all that time with wasn't really the princess, it proves that he didn't really care about her status or that she was a princess. Like, he actually liked her for her.
But yeah, we need to talk about the best aspect of the film and the best thing that Mattel has ever produced through these Barbie films, and that is Preminger.
Yeah.
Preminger!
If he's not on anyone's favourite villain list, like, you haven't watched this movie.
Why don't you stick to your books, schoolboy? Wouldn't that be fun?
What I love about Preminger is that he's hilariously flamboyant and campy, and but also so smart and so cunning. He's the kind of villain you need to go up against these really intelligent heroes.
Yeah.
Like, even though he's really cocky and arrogant, in a way he's earned that overconfidence.
Definitely.
Because he's always 3 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And he's good at turning the tables to his side.
Yep.
And he's just great. He's just so great. And he has 2 songs in the film, and they're both so good.
Yeah.
So good. And I love Martin Short as Preminger.
He's so good as Preminger.
Every single line that Martin reads as Preminger
is great.
So funny, so iconic. Like, they probably read as basic dialogue on the script, but, like, Martin reads it and he's just chewing the microphone. You're like, oh yes, Martin, yes.
I know.
He just takes these simple lines and makes them either really charismatic or really, really funny.
I know.
And every time Preminger's on screen, you're like, yes.
I know. You can't wait till you see him again.
If you'll excuse me, I must be off to see to the arrangements.
And, like, that's the kind of the thing with the movie. Like, you enjoy everybody's storyline. Like, when it cuts from one character's to another, you're not like, you're like, oh, let's see what they're doing now.
Exactly. Even even Preminger's henchmen, they're cliche tropes, but they're so funny. They're the typical kind of like relatively smart guy and the dumb idiot. Yeah. But the way they bounce off each other and the way they try to like handle their mistakes is so funny. I think the bit that I always laugh at the most. The bit I laugh at the most is where Annalise has managed to escape the henchman, and one of the henchmen just waves goodbye. It just kills me every time.
Yeah.
I think the Princess Puppa probably has some of the best animal sidekicks as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, they're great. They're great. Like, they're really helpful.
Yeah, and they actually they have a point, and they have like character arcs as well.
Yes, they do, and those arcs mirror what the humans are going through without it being too on the nose as well. Like, it's... Because the thing is that this film, at the heart of it, it's about interclass romance. Mm-hmm. It's about how people can find love despite being poor or being wealthy. Money doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And like they managed to take that same message and apply it to cats.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant. How did they do that? But yeah, like I said, they really care about their owners.
Yeah.
And just like the owners, they don't sit around.
No.
And they don't scratch at the door and be like, meow, meow, meow. Somebody help. They're like, right, okay, my owner's in trouble. What do I do? What can I do?
And because Erica is so accepting of absolutely everybody, like she totally accepts that her cat barks, and like she doesn't try to make him be like, oh no, you need to meow. He just barks all the time. And then when Wolfie meets the princess cat Serafina, he wants to fit in, and like he wants to please her. So like there's that beautiful scene of them when Erica's having a bath and Wolfie's there and he's trying to meow. He wants to be a cat so that he can impress Serafina, but Erica's like, you don't need to do that. You're perfect the way you are. And I think like that really resonates. Like every time I hear that song, like genuinely it makes me cry. Like I'm welling up right now just thinking about it, because that song is so powerful.
I feel really emotional hearing that song too, because it really means that message. It really wants to like say to kids, don't try to be someone else. The way you are is brilliant. If you can carry on the teachings of Fred Rogers, you've won.
Aww.
You've won the Wholesome contest.
Yeah.
I also like that in that scene, Dominic hears Erica singing a song of acceptance to a cat, and that's what makes him fall in love with her. Although, you could argue that Dominic kind of disrespects Erica's privacy a bit.
But yeah, speaking of the songs, this is a musical, and every song is a banger.
It is.
Every single
Every single one.
is great.
Even the end credit song that you don't have to put any effort into. You could just replay one of the songs from the movie. They made a brand new song just for the end credits, and it's good as well.
Yeah, what I love about the musical numbers in The Princess and the Pauper is that all of them are important.
Yeah.
Every single one of them are integral to the story. If you
Yep.
took any of them out, it wouldn't make sense.
No.
And that is the sign of a good musical.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, musicals are supposed to like help the film. They're meant to like make the film stronger, and that's
Yeah.
what these songs do. And the lyrics in these songs,
They're
so
good.
creative, so
Yeah.
inventive, and you can tell that they've like rewritten them again and again to get them right.
Yeah.
And like they're so smart.
Yeah.
And like it's not that they don't give the impression that they've just thought, okay, this rhymes with this'll do. They've actually thought, how can we make these lyrics bounce off each other and rhyme
Exactly.
and fit the context of what the song's supposed to be about?
Well, your good luck has departed, and your people soon will starve. Au revoir to your foie gras and cheese fondues. But because I'm so good-hearted, half my fortune I will carve. I feel your pain, so how can I refuse?
That's good that you say that, because like in like the later Barbie movies, such as the Fashion Fairy Tale one, there's a song in it called Get Your Sparkle On, and it's literally like, just get your sparkle on, woohoo! And like you could play that anywhere. That could be in anything. That could be in any movie ever. But
Yeah.
with Barbie, Princess and the Pauper, like that's the movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's proud to be a musical.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there are other Barbie musicals,
Yeah.
but none of them ever come close
No.
to being as well constructed as Princess and the Pauper. And I don't remember any other songs from the Barbie movies besides the ones from Princess and the Pauper.
I know.
They're,
I'm the
they're
same.
that forgettable.
Yeah, they really are. Like some of the movies have good like music in them, but it's never like musical songs where you can just like
Yeah.
it's telling the story.
Yeah, it's just filler. A lot of the songs in new Barbie movies are just filler.
Yeah.
But with Princess and the Pauper, it's integral.
Like the opening song tells you the entire plot.
It does, yeah. It builds the world.
And
It really does
then
build the world.
like Preminger's song does the same thing. Like he has a line in his song, "This peasant's son won't turn and run," which makes you think, was he like poor? Did he used to be he has so much backstory in that one line, and you're left thinking, he's a peasant's son, so like he worked to get to that position. It's like, how did he get there? Did he swindle his way? Did he poison someone? You don't know.
And I like that intrigue.
Yeah.
And I think that's why there's so much fan love for this film, is that it doesn't spell things out.
It doesn't tell you everything.
There's a lot of things that you can either like guess for yourself or kind of like ponder about.
Yeah.
Which is really good storytelling for a kids movie.
It is.
This brings me on to the other obvious question.
Uh-huh.
Which do you think is the worst I'll say booby movie. Which do you think is the worst Barbie movie to date, and why?
Okay. I haven't actually seen all of them, but out of the ones I have seen, I'm not sure. The Princess and the Pop Star was bad, but it was for like, because it kept on referencing Princess and the Pauper, and you're like, what are you doing?
That's why The Princess and the Pop Star is the worst for me.
Yeah.
Like, there are a couple contenders for worst Barbie movie.
Yeah.
And, like, I've seen them all.
Yeah.
But none of them personally offended me like Princess and the Pop Star did.
Oh, yeah. That one was... Yeah, I agree with you.
Like, because the thing is that, yeah, there are some Barbie movies where you're like, oh, this is so boring, or whatever. But, like, I can put up with that.
Yeah.
There's nothing to really get worked up about that.
Yeah.
But this is a bad movie.
Yeah.
That's remaking the best Barbie movie. while not realizing what made the original so memorable and entertaining. That's why it bugged me the most.
I was watching that movie yesterday for the first time, but I was also doing work. So I was kind of like half watching, half not. And there was this one point where the princess was like walking into this ballroom, and there was like an instrumental version of "To Be a Princess" playing in the background from the Princess and the Pauper, right? And I was like, oh, that's like a homage to the Princess and the Pauper. And I was like, I was kind of like, is this just being lazy, or is this actually like pandering to the people who are a fan of that movie? And I wasn't sure until the Princess and the Pop Star are talking about switching with each other, and the Pop Star literally says line for line the exact same words that Erica says. I don't know a thing about being a princess. And then Barbie's like, well, and it just starts singing "To Be a Princess." I was like, excuse me?
I can put up with a bad Barbie movie that's just bad.
Yeah.
It's because you with that kind of Barbie movie, you're just like, okay, watched it, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah.
But when you tie in something that so many fans hold so close to their heart,
yeah, it's beloved.
Then it becomes personal.
Yeah.
And it becomes worth getting angry about.
Yeah, you know, before I wasn't too sure what my least favorite movie was, but like the more we're talking about this, the more I'm kind of like, you know what? Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna break down why I think it's really bad. We're basically watching two privileged and wealthy people swap places. Mm-hmm. Not women of different classes. So not much really happens when the switching takes place.
Yeah.
Like the princess has to become a pop star, but there's no tension because she just happens to be a great singer who loves pop music. So
you're right. That's right.
The pop star has to become a princess, but the schedule of a princess is just as demanding as a pop star's. So where's the shake-up?
Yeah.
The whole idea of The Princess and the Pauper is to see what these lives are like when they're so dramatically changed.
Yeah.
And like, the world building in this film is probably the worst out of all the Barbie movies. And like, the Barbie movies don't really have very good world building in general, but with this one, they just throw in magic for the sake of, like, here's some magic, and it'll make the plot convenient.
That was another thing. Like, I didn't understand what those magic items were about.
Yeah. So basically.
Yeah.
Both lead characters have a magic object.
Mm-hmm.
And like no one else in the world has a magic object. It's never explained why these objects are enchanted, or where they got them from, or who gave them. They're just like, oh, I've got a magic hairbrush. Oh, I've got a magic microphone. That's convenient.
Yeah.
And then randomly they open up a secret door, and it's like, oh, I've got fairies. Fairies exist in this world now? Okay.
Yeah.
It's really sloppy world building.
Yeah.
Really sloppy. Like, magic only exists because it's part of the Barbie brand, and it makes storytelling beats easier to get through. That's the only reason magic's there. It's like so frustrating because other Barbie fantasy Barbie movies have managed to implement it at least decently.
Yeah.
But for this one, it's like, we've got fairies. Girls like fairies. Put some fairies in there. Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, magic hairbrush. Girls have hairbrushes, don't they? The villain never interacts with our main characters either.
Who was the villain?
He was the manager for the pop star.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. He doesn't interact with the main characters because he's off doing his own thing and has no idea about the princess pop star switcheroo. So he's got his own little plot. And let's be fair, he is no Preminger.
No.
He is no Preminger. He's not cunning or fun.
No.
He's just whiny and annoying.
Yeah.
All he ever does is moan about his lost childhood acting career. That's his whole shtick. When Preminger comes on screen, you have fun booing and hissing. When his manager comes on screen, you're just groaning and like, oh, shut up about your childhood.
Yeah.
I was the beloved idol of millions. The finest voice singer on the Chipper Chipmunk show. Until that tragic day.
He's not fun, and he has nothing to do with the main story because he only ties in with the main story in the finale, and that's not a good villain.
No, it's really bad.
Princess Popstar doesn't focus on telling a good Princess and the Pauper story.
No.
But how it can take this classic period tale and make it more hip, make it more trendy. It's a shallow and lazy excuse for Mattel to cash in on the original's cult following for quick, easy bucks. Yeah. That's why it annoys me the most.
Yeah.
I can see why fans consider it to be the worst one after watching all 38. And to say that I've watched 38 films and you managed to be the only one that genuinely annoyed me.
Yeah.
That's something.
That says something.
Okay, question. What kind of movie would you love to see Barbie do the most? Like, if you could pitch a Barbie movie idea to Mattel, what would your premise be?
Okay, so in a fashion fairy tale, Barbie is in A Princess and the Pea for the first 10 minutes, and the first time I watched that movie, I genuinely thought, oh, is this the movie? Are we really getting a Barbie Princess and the Pea movie? Like, this was like really, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm actually like excited for this movie. And then it turns out that's not what it is, and she was just acting, and then she's actually going to Paris to be in it. I was like, what is this? I don't want this. Go back to the Princess and the Pea thing that you were doing, because I was really interested in it. And then, so like, I think that if Barbie made a Barbie Princess and the Pea movie, I would watch it. I really would.
Would you still keep the zombie peas?
No. 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 I genuinely think it'd be a good movie, because we haven't really had like a mainstream Princess and the Pea movie before. Like, there's a couple of like short movies made, but like nobody knows them, nobody knows who made them, nobody really cares about them. It's not something that's in anyone's consciousness. So I think that, and not even Disney's done it, or even like, you know, like any of these other companies have ever done Princess and the Pea, and I don't know why, because it's such it's kind of like Princess and the Frog, where like you wouldn't think to do it, but when you do think to do it and you actually think about it, you're like, wow, you know, we could actually make something of this. And because nobody really knows anything about it other than the princess has to sleep on this bed and there's a pea in it, and then like, you know, like there's so much that you can add to that. Like, that's like the basis, and like you can put so much more good elements on top of it and really make a good story. So I genuinely think that would be a really good Barbie movie.
I think it could have been part of the golden age.
Yeah, I think so too, definitely. Like, if they treated Barbie, Princess and the Pea, like, with the same dignity and respect as they did for that first handful of movies, I think it could be really good.
Absolutely, yeah. For me, you're probably going to be like, what, to this? But I think she should do a horror film.
Oh, right.
Whether it's a whodunit mystery or a Halloween special, I don't mind. There's really not enough spooky movies for kids, especially little girls. And some children really love being scared. My best friend Miranda, her daughter, is completely obsessed with like vampires and has watched the little vampire constantly. So yeah, and even me as a kid, I loved Halloween specials, and I loved I loved darker kinds of films. So I feel like there's an audience for like a Barbie like horror movie, and yeah, it could fill that void. They've done Christmas movies. Why not Halloween ones? You could do it. You could do it. It'd be really fun. Really embrace it. Really have fun with it, and it'd be challenging as well because they'd be slightly breaking out of the brand. So, like, I'd like to see them take that risk. I don't think they ever will.
No, I think it's
but, like, I want them to, and I encourage it. So if anyone from Mattel is watching this right now, do it. Do it, you cowards.
Wow. Because, like, literally, like, I am so easy to scare. Like, honestly, I don't think I could watch something like that, even if unless it's, like, done in kind of, like, a comedic way, but I don't know, but...
Well, that's the thing, because you've got two kinds of Barbie movies. You've got the ones where Barbie's playing herself, and it's kind of like set in a grounded world, and then you've got like all these fictional worlds where Barbie is playing a character, and I'm not that would dictate the tone of the horror film. Because like I think if you were to do it in the grounded world, it would be more fun to do it as a Halloween special where like Barbie and her sisters are trick or treating, and it'd be really cute and really fun. And maybe there's one house that's really scary, and they have to go trick or treat there, something like that. But if it was set in a fictional world, you could play with the fantasy a bit more. Like say like Barbie could be playing Dracula, like a reverse gender Dracula. That'd be freaking awesome.
I'd love that.
Or even like a reverse gender Frankenstein, and yeah, there's so much that they could work with, and I do think that like I said, there's an audience for children's horror films, and especially in October, you could really hit the straight to video Halloween special market with that kind of film.
Like. Honestly, when you mentioned Frankenstein, I was like, you know what? I would actually watch that because I love Frankenstein.
Yeah, see what I mean? There's a lot there, and it also harks back to their roots where they were adapting existing period material.
And then it kind of comes back to the be what you want to be. Like Barbie could be a scientist, you know?
You can bring the dead back too.
You can be a zombie if you would like.
You could be a countess. Right, now, there's a lot of stigma around the Barbie movies that pushes a lot of people away from giving them a chance.
Yeah.
What would you say to those folks?
Probably that you're not very open-minded, and... and, I definitely would give them a chance, but, like... I don't really blame a lot of people for that, because there was such a gender divide, especially like when we were kids. Like it was always like on Nickelodeon, you always had that boys versus girls shows, and then when you go to McDonald's, it's like, are you a boy, you get a Hot Wheels toy, are you a girl, you get a Barbie. It does like it make it like no wonder people like don't want to watch. That's so girly, and like but like that's something people have to work through.
I have to say to these people, don't judge these movies from the outside. Yes, a lot of them are uninspired and average, so much so that they blend into each other. Yes, none of these films have been good since as good as they were since like the early 2000s. But there's a movie for everyone, because Mattel has covered so many genres over the years, and let Barbie have a go at so many different things as a character. Most importantly, though, I'd say to these people, you need to watch The Princess and the Pauper. Put aside any biases you have, and give it a chance. Because it's a very intelligent and fun movie that proves that films based on dolls can be memorable, well-crafted, entertaining, and for everyone, really.
Yeah, it does. And, like, because, like, more and more of, like, the media these days are kind of going the way of everyone could enjoy this, like Adventure Time and like shows kind of like that. It's making people a lot more open-minded for things, which is pretty good, because then it does give people like a chance to revisit some shows that they may have written off and like were seen as it's like unmanly to watch these or whatnot, whatever they think, but. Like, it's just not true, and, like, literally nobody cares if you want to sit down and watch a Barbie movie. Like, literally nobody cares.
And the thing is, I would say that the golden age of Barbie movies are better than a lot of animated films that come out these days in mainstream cinemas.
Yeah.
I stand by that. I really do.
Yeah.
Like, even I had, like, my own biases about Barbie movies before going in.
Yeah. No
And
wonder.
then after seeing The Princess and the Pauper, I was like, I was completely wrong.
Yeah.
After you see that film, you have a completely different mindset. I feel like that's the one you should kind of start with.
Yeah, defos. And then, like, if you like that one, you can kind of branch out. And if you like more, like, this is going to sound ridiculous, but if you like more darker things, you should try Barbie and the Magic of Pegasus.
Pegasus.
Which sounds like, it literally sounds like the lamest, most happy movie ever. But it's really not. It's quite dark, and, like, some of the themes in it are, like, oh my goodness. And some of the things in it, I'm like, how did they get away with this?
Absolutely. If you have a prejudgment of, like, Barbie movies can't be dark, watch The Magic of Pegasus, because there's a lot of stuff in there that, like, borders on horror. It's the closest we've gotten to, like, a horror Barbie movie. Like, it has this steampunk, gothic, macabre aesthetic, and it's just... And it's so out there, and there's something really kind of creepy about it, and very melancholic. I'd say out of all of them, it's the most melancholic Barbie movie. So if you have this idea in your head, like, no, Barbie movies never take risks, they never have any kind of edge, Magic of Pegasus.
That sounds ridiculous.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but, like, yeah, it's a great example of how they are willing to kind of, like, get a bit dark.
I know, and the thing is, though, I don't even think they meant for that to happen. It's just how the movie turned out.
Yeah, and I'm glad they did, because, like, you just get so many risks were taken with that film.
I really didn't
but
like...
it still feels like a Barbie movie.
I really didn't like that one as a kid, because I just remember, like, that was another one of those movies that came out when I thought I was aging out of Barbie. Like, Magic of Pegasus came out, and I was kind of going into high school, and I was like, oh, I'm too old for Barbie, but, like, I still, in the back of my head, I was like, I still want to watch it, though, and I will. Like, luckily, I have a little sister, so I was like, I don't want that movie, but if you want to get it, you should get it from my sister, so I can watch it anyway. So, my sister got the movie, and then we were watching it, and I was really excited for it, actually, and I was watching it, and I was like, why don't I like this movie? And I was like, maybe I am just too old for Barbie movies, but I really didn't enjoy it. It was just so, like, it's just really an uncomfortable movie.
It kind of reminds me of like old Don Bluth. Those kinds of films where, like, they would push the characters through some really gruesome or really creepy kinds of things, but by the end they were rewarded with something happy. It had that kind of feel, and I think that's why I liked it, because I like those films.
I really didn't like the villain. Like, he's fun to watch, but I just don't like how he treats, like, women and things like that. Like, it just makes me so uncomfortable. Like, the way he treats all of his 3 wives, and then as soon as... Like, he said that he turned them into trolls because they annoyed him. Like, they're just pretty much, like, maids and servants, and then he's like, right, you guys are useless to me because I've made you ugly. I'm gonna go and find a new wife who's beautiful and young. The
villain in Magic of Pegasus kind of takes elements of, like, Gaston and just, like, elevates the creepiness to, like, a level where you're like, whoa, this is quite dark for Barbie.
Yeah, it's like Gaston if he had unlimited power.
Pretty much, yeah. Gaston with a wand.
Yeah. And then, like, he turned that guy into a doormat, and then by the end of the movie, you don't get to see him ever again. You don't know, is he still a doormat by the end of the movie, even though Wenlock's defeated?
So, what are your final conclusions on the Barbie movies?
Right, I think that they're absolutely fantastic, and if nothing else, definitely give those first 5 or 6 movies a watch, including the 12 Dancing Princesses, because it's quite a good one as well. And yeah, they're just really good movies, and I definitely recommend them if you don't have anything to watch and you just want to watch something quite light-hearted and whimsical. I'd just put it on in the background.
Even though watching 38 Barbie movies was very exhausting, I would still call myself a fan of these films. The Golden Age movies are cult classics that deserve more love and attention outside the Barbie fanbase. The newer movies are pretty hit or miss, but they feature better representation, expand Barbie's acting roles beyond princesses, introduce Barbie's relatable sisters, and keep the franchise relevant by following the changing times. Please keep an open mind about these films, because you might actually find yourself enjoying a Barbie movie, whether you grew up with the dolls or not. Oh, and by the way, folks, I'd just like to point out that Sora is an artist. How awesome is that? Make sure to follow her social media links to see more of her artwork.
Okay, we hope you enjoyed this Barbie podcast. I've been Jamboree,
I've been Sora Star.
and cheerio, folks.
Bye.